In lesson 4, we are going to start looking at the addition of vectors. So when we add two or more vectors together graphically, we can do this in a variety of ways. So when you add two or more vectors together, you are finding a single vector called the resultant. And it has the same effect as the original vectors applied, one right after the other. So there are two methods. One is called the parallelogram method. So in the parallelogram method, we arrange the two vectors tail to tail, and then we complete the parallelogram formed by the two vectors. So for example, here's a diagram. So if I had vector A and vector B, which are A there and B here, and I do them tail to tail, I can complete the parallelogram so that they meet there, and then the resultant would be this vector that goes from corner to corner. The other way to do it is the triangle method, which is tip to tail, which is generally the way I like to do it. So what we do is we do vector A, and then we add the vector B immediately after it. So we put the tail of B at the tip of A. It's kind of like walking around a field, as opposed to going diagonally across the field. So if I were walking around the field, so A plus B, I would end up at the same spot as if I walked diagonally across the field. So A plus B is the resultant. Just keep in mind, if you add opposite vectors, the result would be a zero vector. So kind of think of them, and sometimes we call this the equilibrium, or the equilibrant. I'll write that out here. So an equilibrant is when we have, let's say we have vector AB, and then we have another vector going the opposite direction. So these vectors are opposite. It's kind of like two people pulling in opposite directions at the same force. The result would be zero. They balance each other out, so that is called a zero vector. We can also subtract vectors. If I want to do A minus B, there's two options. So we can think of adding the opposite. So if you remember B, the original vector B was going this way. So if I add A and then I want to subtract B, then I would go the opposite direction. So I'm going tip to tail, and this time B is going this way instead of to the right. And then the resultant would look like this. You can also think of A plus B, instead of tip to tail, doing tail to tail, and then the resultant would be the subtraction of the two. Okay, so let's look at an example here. I have a diagram. So vector O to A is called vector A, vector O to C is called vector B, and vector O to D is called C. So you can see them in red on the diagram. So I want a vector in terms of A, B, or C that would describe a vector going from A to or B to C. So I'm going to look at B. Here's B, and here's C. So it's going to go this way. So remember, equal vectors have the same magnitude and are going in the same direction, so that they would be parallel. So if I look at B to C, it is equal in magnitude to A, but it's opposite in direction. So I would say B to C is equal to negative vector A. So it's the same length as A, but it's going in the opposite direction. If I do G to F, G to F is this vector, and again it's the same length as A, it's the same magnitude, it's going in the same direction as A, so I would say that's equal to A. Let's erase these. O to B. So O starts here and ends here. So now I have to do a combination of vectors. So I have two options. I could go over to A and then across to B. So I could say it's the same as taking A and then adding B. Or I could go the other way. I could go across B and over A. So it could be B plus A, depending on which way I go. But A plus B and B plus A are the same. If you think of the addition property, 2 plus 3 is the same as 3 plus 2. Okay, D, I want to go, let's erase this one. D, I want to go from point A to point C. So again, I could go two different ways. I could go across, which would be negative A, because it's the opposite of A, and then over B, so plus B. Or I could go across B, and then opposite of A, so B minus A. So negative A plus B, or B minus A. All right, let's look at the next one. So E is B to G. Let's erase what we have here. Oops. I guess I can't erase that. Oh, there we go. All right, so I want to go B to G. So B starts here and ends here. So I can go over, which is negative A, and then up, which is C, or I could go up and then over. So both of them are identical, and I start and end at the same spot. All right, and the last one is O to F. So O starts here and F is all the way up here. So I'm going to go a couple of ways we could go. I'm going to go across A, then I'm going to go across B, so add B, and then I'm going to go up C. So it would be equal to A plus B plus C. Okay, it might not be a diagram, it might just be the vectors described in letters. So all you have to remember is the tip and the tail have to be the same. So basically they have to be the same letter in order to add them. So for example, PT plus TS, I'm looking for the end letter of the first vector has to be the same as the starting letter of the second vector. So PT plus TS would equal P to S. And then I will do that again. So P to S, it ends in S. The next one starts in S, so I can add those together because the tip of the first one is the same as the tail of the second one. And so that would equal P to Q. If you have subtraction, you can change it around. Remember, we could add the opposite. So subtracting G to E would be the same as adding E to G. So I will do that first. So A to C and E to G I cannot add because the first one ends in C and the next one starts in E, but I can move things around. I don't have to do them in that order. So I could put C to E second and then E to G. So I can move things around without changing much. So A to C plus C to E would give me A to E. And then A to E plus E to G would give me A to G. Okay, so it's okay to shuffle things around. Same with this one. First thing I would do is change minus C to B and change that to plus B to C. So any subtractions I'm going to change to the opposite. Okay, so I'm going to put E to A ends in A, so I'm going to put the A to D next. That one ends in D, so I'm going to put the D to B next, and then that one ends in B, so I'll put the B to C last. So E to A plus A to D. Tip to tail is the same, so that would be E to D. And then E to D plus D to B, again, ends in D, starts with D, so I can add that, so that would be E to B. And then finally, E to B plus B to C would be E to C.